Do you know this feeling? That when you are going out and you get exactly what you were hoping for, even though you thought it might never happen? That happened to me. It might be alive. Welcome, this is Jelle from Growing Bonsai. It is early March and I'd like to share a couple of projects with you. One of them is this gorgeous arakawa maple. The other is my Korean Hornbeam. That one has been repotted and wired, and I'll show you exactly what I did, how I did it and when I did it. And then I have this Zelkova clumbstyle. I wired it out and I think it needs a repot. I think it's the same for everybody. If you come into my shed in early spring, this is what you get. It's going to be very messy. It is the middle of repotting season. It's the middle of pruning, wiring and getting everything ready for spring season. This Zelkova, I air layered from seedling. I need to check the date, but I think it's somewhere 8-9 years ago. I got some seeds from Zelkova, planted them, let them germinate, and then I planted them out in a growing field. But when I got to the growing field after winter, something had been digging in my field, and this Zelkova was just laying on the ground, roots dried out, but some buds were still viable. So I chucked it in a pot, planted it, and didn't expect very much. It took, but it was ugly. There were just a few living roots and. So I did a ground layer on this Zelkova and it created the best nebari start I've ever seen. Perfect radial roots, hundreds of small little roots, and I could just select roots that are all in one plane. That's what I did. I planted it up. I use this wire to attach tension wires to so I can pull the branches down. Now what I've done in spring, I took it, I pruned it back, I wired it. Let's take a look. Now I am in the position that I need to decide, do I want to repot it? In fact, it has been growing quite well. I think I'm not going to repot it this season. Just going to leave it as is. I'm just going to let it grow for a bit. Let's take a look at how I handled my Korean Hornbeam. Later in this video, I'll share with you why there are branches sticking out from these roots and why this tree is actually not dead. I think. I hope. Maybe. And this is a Korean Hornbeam. It is one of 3 species of Hornbeam that I have. The other species that I have are the European Hornbeam and the Oriental Hornbeam. This one grows nice and twiggy young branches. Last year I have just let it grow and as a result I have a lot of long branches, which is nice because I want the trunk to fatten. I want the top to get taller. But what I've also seen is there's a lot of dead twigs in there. So I'm going to take all the dead twigs out. Then I'm going to wire all these young branches. It is now very early spring. Slowly the hornbeams are starting to wake up. So I can now, look at this, I can now make quite tight bends. The top needs sorting out because this really is not the direction that I wanted to take. I'm going to get rid of all the moss that's here on the root base and I'm going to plant it up in a new pot. Healthy branches have tiny little buds on them, like you see here and there. This branch, however, doesn't have any buds on it. So this side branch is dead. This side branch, the same thing. This one is alive, there's an end bud. This one does not have an end bud. So this one is also dead. Same here. It is a little bit difficult to see this time of the year what is all alive and what's not. As I'm going to do a lot of wiring, I am going to be pruning off a lot. Look at this maple tree. This arakawa maple I left outside when I went on holidays in October, November, and when I got back we had a very deep cold snap. The tree was completely grey, I thought it was a goner, and I actually made a video about it. There's a link down in the description. Now you can see, buds are starting to swell. What I did over winter, I just pruned it back. I pruned off all the sections that I thought were dead and I left some stumps on. Some longer branches came off. And what I did there, I actually drilled holes here in the roots, because these are all roots. And I stuck the branches in. And now if you look carefully, they're both still glossy. That means the branches are still alive. But better than that, you can see the buds on this one, they're starting to swell. Not as big as on the main tree, but they are coming. Now will you look at that? That's going to be such an interesting tree if these take one main trunk with a number of smaller branches. And in fact, maybe in spring, I'll do the same thing here. It looks like a lot of the inner branches is gone, and that is true. A lot of the inner branching is gone. And is that a problem, you could say? No, this is not a problem, because this stage of development, actually this tree doesn't need all these inner branches and all the refinement. Because I am growing it still out to get a thicker trunk. In fact, I should put it in a bigger pot so it can grow faster, but I'm doing it in a slow way. So all these long branches mean that I'm going to lose inner branches, and it's not a problem, because at some point I'm going to bring everything back in and it will back bud, and then I'm building the refinement. This is quite long. This is all very straight. There's a lot of big curves and big bends in this plant, right? Now if I look, this is probably going to be the front of the tree. Then I don't want this all to be straight. I could take either this one as a continuation of the trunk, or I could take this one as a continuation, or I could take this one as a continuation. Well, let's go back to this one. There's not a lot of side branches. There's not a lot of extra taper, so this doesn't help all that much. Now if I go back one further, here I could make a nice curve. I have a side branch and I could bring this up. If I were to go back all the way here, there's no side branch. This one doesn't have all that many side branches. I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to bring this one up a little bit, wire it out, cut this a little bit better, but not all that much. It needs to have a little stop, otherwise it will break. And I'm going to just wire it like this. I always like to use one wire and wire multiple branches with it. So this one goes around the little branch here. Then it is going to come up around the trunk. It's not going to do anything for the trunk, and then it gets here to the new top branch that I'm going to wire out as well. And now I can just put it in position as I like, and I'm not paying a lot of attention to the exact shape, because this tree is crazy and I want it to remain crazy. Normally I'd recommend to wire out the branch all the way to the tips, but what you see here is I don't wire all the way to the tips. I just wire the start of the branches, and I do that because most of this will be clipped off at some point. This way this can grow out, you use less wire, it is easier to unwire later on, you still have the movement, and once you're done, just clip the branch off there and there. The tree is now wired out, it has been pruned, but what is not obvious is that this is all part of the root base. This is not just moss over the roots, no, there's actually a hard piece of roots underneath. So I cleaned this up last year as well, and then I repotted, and it's grown exceptionally well. So what I'll do is I'm going to repot it now as well, do a little bit of root work, clean off the moss. If you like my channel, click that like button, and then YouTube knows that you like this video and it will show it to more people. So it really helps me to grow my channel. 1 year of growth. So this is now a fairly flat root base. It can be flatter, however, and I can do that by trimming the lower roots here at the base. I cut them quite deeply so that I get to the base of the trunk here, leaving a few of the horizontal roots that come out. Now I edit out the roots that are really still too long, that are growing towards the inside, as well as overly thicker roots. This one stands out, I'm going to take half of it off. Coming up. So I want roots that shallowly disappear into the pot, and I go around clipping the upper roots that are growing up a little bit in favor of the ones that are slowly disappearing into the substrate. So this is roughly the sort of root base that I like on this tree. It's nice, it's wide, it's flat, and it's ready to go for the next season. There's still lots and lots of feeder roots here on the inside, so I have not done a lot of drastic trimming here. a little bit off center. Let me put these trees outside again. It is still the middle of March, so particularly with the one with the grafts, I'm going to protect it from frost.